Hello everyone and welcome to Melyn Talks How to Gain Elo, okay? So this is a question that I get, time and time again on my stream. Every streamer gets this a million times. Everybody in Challenger hears this all the time. What's the best way to climb? What are the best champions that I should use to climb? Any tips for, X, Y, Z, all this stuff that basically boils down to, I want to get into a higher rank than I am right now, okay? So I decided to make a video kind of talking about some things that come to mind when I hear this question. Now, this is not an exhaustive list by any means. There's just some of the things that I feel the most strongly about that also I feel don't get talked about enough. So, there's going to be the usual things in this video, but some of the usual things are going to be left out because I think it's kind of obvious. So there's going to be a mix and matching, and it's not going to cover everything, all right? So strap yourselves in, and hopefully we get some good answers for you in this video. So when I first think about it, there's two main categories on how we can divide these tips, all right? And the first tip is kind of the obvious, or the things that people expect. And that's just getting better at the game. If you get better at the game, you're gonna win more. Then you're gonna, of course, climb up. The second part that is talked about not as much is just playing at your best. So it doesn't matter how good you are if you're playing, I don't know, like drunk all the time, for example, or like sleep deprived or starving or something like that, or like depressed, stuff like that. You have to play at your best. So we're gonna start with the former, getting better at the game. And this is the main one. So, we have the typical things, just knowing things about the game is going to, of course, help, right? If you don't know what Kennen does, you're gonna feed if you're against him in lane. And that happened to me the first time I played against Kennen. It's like, I don't know what this champion does. Oh, I'm dead. Huh, what happened? So you have to know things about the game. What can the enemy champions do? What can your ally champions do? What are the matchups in lane? What are the patch changes, etc.? So, this is kind of a no-brainer. Some of the best ways to figure things out is maybe just like when you're loading into champion select, you can read about champions that you're less familiar with, especially if you're playing up against a new champion. Make sure you're aware of their abilities during champ select or loading screen. It's a great time where you have some downtime. And that can be a great time to figure things out and just learn more information about the game. This is also one of the things that you don't really learn so much by playing. If this person is using all their abilities and killing me, I'm not knowing exactly what they're doing. All I know is that I'm getting stunned or killed or slowed, or I'm just dying. And so it's kind of a hard thing that you can figure out just by playing the game. It's really, really something that you have to go out of your way to research for the more in-depth things. Of course, if you play against Galio a lot, you learn that he has that charge, but you might not know exactly how his taunt works, all right? In fact, I need to check that out myself. Okay, so that's why it was an example. I'm awful at this, honestly. I've been master I was master last season. I hit master the season before that as well. I know an embarrassingly small amount of things about the game, but it's very important for climbing. Number 2, be aware of what is going on. This is, I think, by far the most underrated way to get better at the game. It's just paying attention, and it's not, I said it's just paying attention. It's not just paying attention, all right? That's a great start. Just know what's going on. Pay attention, be aware, thinking, always be aware. I'm saying the same word so many times. Just always try to focus on what is going on. Don't get into these patterns of just playing. Oh, I'm gonna do this every single game level 1. If their jungler ganks me, oh, unlucky. My jungler should have been there. If their top laner teleports, unlucky. Where was my top laner doing? All this stuff like that are just excuses for your lack of awareness, all right? So, one of the easiest ways to do it, especially if you're a support player, is watch the map whenever you aren't doing anything. Constant glances at the map is so useful, and not even just for yourself either. If you're always looking at the map, I'm gonna be talking in the phrase of a support player, since that's what I do the most, but all this stuff in this video applies to any role. If you're always looking at the map, then if you see the jungler on a ward somewhere, you can ping it out. Your team can say, oh, there's the jungler, in case they weren't looking at the map. If you see the jungler ganking someone, you can ping it out. Maybe the top laner didn't notice. I myself have been saved so many times by not paying attention and somebody else pinging something that's on the map. And it has helped me so much. And in turn, you can help other people with that information. Information is so important to making good decisions. And of course, even if you're not support, you can do this. If you're not support, you have less time, unless you're maybe jungler, because clearing jungle camps for most champions is not too intensive. But any role can do this. If you're mid lane, after you last hit, if you have a little bit of time, quick glance at the mini map. It takes so little time and so little attention to do this. You just have to remember. Get into the habit of looking at the mini map as often as possible. Another part of awareness is always be thinking about where the enemy team is. Every single person on the enemy team. Where's their top laner? Where's their mid laner? A lot of the times they'll be in lane. That'll make your job easier. Where's the AD carry? Where's the support? A lot of times they'll be in lane. That'll make it easier. Especially if you're support though, if the enemy support is not visible and you think they might be roaming, ping it out. Type in chat. Do both. Say, hey, this Blitzcrank is getting destroyed in lane. What is he gonna do? He's gonna go hook you, immobile mid laner. Let them know so that you can help your team. And this also is so helpful for jungler defense, gank defense, and teleport defense as well. If you know your top laner is getting destroyed, all right, they're probably gonna have to teleport to get back in a lane and just try to get some farm. If the enemy team has a teleport advantage, every single time you push up, every single time that enemy top laner disappears, you have to be careful. You have to pay attention. You have to be worried. You have to respect what can happen. You can't just do the same thing. You can't just not pay attention and blame your team when a very, very obvious thing occurs. And also to go along with that, if you think they're gonna teleport on you and you think you have to back off, don't just back off and let your AD carry die and say, oh, I knew that was going to happen. He should have known it. Tell them. Let them know. I'm a huge culprit of this. I'll be like, okay, their jungler is clearly bottom lane. Let's back off. My AD carry doesn't back off because he can't read my mind. And of course he dies. Usually it's an Ezreal. But it's very important that you communicate these thoughts as well with your team. But again, that's another thing of awareness. And I think the final thing I want to talk about for being aware is just to never stop thinking. That's one of the things that has really helped me climb elo from streaming, is that when I stream, I try to always be narrating what I'm thinking. So if I'm not saying anything, I'm probably not thinking. and that's a very, very bad state of mind to be in the game. You'll always have to be thinking. This is huge in team fights, but even in lane, I'll kind of talk about a little bit about both. So in a team fight, you have to always be thinking, okay, what are the enemy summoner spells that they have? What are the enemy cooldowns? Who are the priority targets? Who can kill me here? What am I saving my E for? What am I saving my ult for? Am I going to use my ult to try to combo someone with my E? Am I going to use my ult to try to zone the back line away so we can focus down the front line? What is going to happen? You cannot make these split-second decisions in the team fight unless you are a god. And I'm sorry, I don't want to bring out the flame in this video, but it is very likely that you, whoever you are watching this video, are not a god or goddess at League of Legends. You are probably average. Or, no, this is getting very, very bad. I mean, most people, myself included, we're not exceptional, all right? And the sooner we realize that, never mind, stopping that. Okay, so it's very important that you plan ahead. And that's why always thinking, even before team fights, even during the laning phase, what you're going to do when the fight happens. This is huge. If you have exhaust, by the way, say, who am I going to exhaust? You can have a few candidates. Say, okay, they have a fed Ari and they have like a fed Aurelia or something. Well, in that case, you're probably just going to exhaust whoever's jumping on you first. But have candidates, have options, have plans, because you are not going to be able to split second do the right thing. A lot of times when people see things like professional players walking back and dodging Cassiopeia ults, or people flashing like a Malphite ultimate or something like that, they go, wow, look at their reaction time. that reaction time is only because they're expecting it. Unless you are an absolute genius at League of Legends, you're not just going to be thinking about, what am I going to have for dinner? Quick flash. Oh, let's see, maybe potatoes and pizza. First off, that's a weird combination for dinner. Second off, that's not going to happen. You're always thinking, okay, this Malphite's running towards me. He's probably going to flash ult me. He's probably going to ult me. I got my finger ready on D, not F, D for flash, just so when he does it, I can be ready. And that's how it works. You see, again, I can't stress this enough. If you watch good players at this game, they are planning ahead. They're not just doing it, out of nowhere. Oh, I'm gonna flash this. They're expecting it. And once you expect something, you can react much, much more quickly. That's very, very important. Awareness. If you get nothing else out of this video, get this section. Be aware of what's going on, plan ahead, never stop thinking. The third part about getting better at the game is, again, something that people focus on a lot, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. And it's just more advanced techniques like wave control, harassing, combos, map rotations, metagame, stuff like that. And I don't want to talk too much about this now because, it's very, very specific. It changes a lot over time. And honestly, it's less important than the other things I'm talking about today. These very advanced things, especially like min-maxing and like masteries and runes, they're important, but they get much overshadowed by these other things like game knowledge, being comfortable with your champion, being aware, stuff like that. These are all way more important than these crazy high level intellectual topics that I love talking about because I love theory crafting, but people focus too much on these advanced things. Again, they're good to know, and if you can figure them out, that's great, but they're not really going to be the defining factor in bringing you from gold 5 to gold 4 or something like that. That's something that, if you're a challenger, you need to be very familiar with these things. Honestly, even master elo, you don't really have to know these things that well. They help, but they don't help as much as other things. And I feel like I have the right to say this because I have been master very, very common, and I am self-admittedly terrible in so many aspects of this game, all right? You guys, a lot of you people, not everyone watching this video, but a lot of you watch my stream, you go, how is this Melyn guy master? Or I'm Diamond 1 right now. How did he even get there? Like, this guy is garbage. His teammates are garbage. His opponents are garbage. If these people can get to Diamond, why can't I? Well, the question is, the answer actually is, because that was the question, is you can. There's nothing mythical about us. We're all bad in our own ways, but we're also good in our own ways. And everyone has unique aspects of what makes them good and what makes them bad, which brings me to my... Just kidding. That brings me to a way later point that we'll talk about later of accurate self-reflection, and playing to your strengths is very important. But that's part of playing at your best. This is getting better at the game. So advanced techniques, they're great to pick up if you can get it. Watching high elo games by streams or spectating, they're great ways to pick this stuff up. Honestly, it's not as important as the other topics in this video. So the last thing I want to talk about for this first section of getting better at the game is to pick the right champion to play. And I'm kind of baiting you guys right here because I have a different perspective than a lot of people. Many people stress that you should play simple champions. Don't play Yasuo in low elo. Don't play Zed in low elo, all this stuff. And I don't want to necessarily say they're wrong, but I think it's very misleading. I think playing simple champions is fine because it allows you to focus on the basics of the game, which again are much more important than the advanced aspects of the game. The basics are much more important. However, if you want to play Yasuo, you can climb out of bronze with Yasuo. If you want to play Zed, you can climb out of bronze with Zed. The important thing for picking the right champion is just finding what you enjoy, find what works for you. And sometimes that's not what other people are telling you to play. If you are winning on a high skill cap champion, go for it. If you love playing, not Nunu, that is a terrible example. If you love playing, Lee Sin, go for it. You can climb with anything. Yeah, I firmly believe that. You can climb with anything. Some things you will climb more quickly, but again, this video is not about how to gain elo quickly, it's how to gain elo eventually. And that's more important. Again, that's going to be part of the latter section of playing at your best. Winning or losing games doesn't mean a thing for gaining elo, but maybe a small thing, but it's not the focus for gaining elo. And again, we'll get into that later. People are different. And again, there's going to be portions in this video where I'm going to get a bit philosophical, because so many aspects on how to find success in League of Legends is just how to find success in life in general. Okay. And everyone's different. And you know, the typical easy champion people like to talk about is Annie. She's pretty simple. You might be garbage at Annie. No matter how much you play her, whatever her play style is, it just doesn't click in your head. That's going to happen. Find something that works for you. And again, that's true with all of life. Certain things that people say, oh, this should be easy. This might not be easy to you. Certain things just come more quickly or more slowly to different people. And don't force yourself into a state in which you don't belong. Find what suits you. Don't try to fit in something that you don't enjoy. And that being said, you know, if you're not good at something but want to stick with it and improve, that's very admirable, and you can do that. But if you're not enjoying it, don't do something just because people say it's the best thing to do. And kind of going along with this is that, and this is a good segue into the second part of my video, is you can't define success through victory. Okay? And this is the first point in the second part of this video. Again, the first part was getting better at the game, kind of no-brainer. The second part is playing at your best. And so let's get into this. Playing at your best. Mental things. That's the big thing. Mental things. All right. So let's begin with this first one. You can't define success through victory. I believe this so strongly. Matchmaking in League of Legends is designed to give you a 50% win rate, which, by the way, many people overvalue win rates. If you're like, a lot of people will say, oh my gosh, this guy is Diamond 1 with a 50% win rate. Aha, what an idiot. No, that's really impressive. There are very few people who are Diamond 1. This guy is Plat 5 with a 52% win rate. He's garbage. No, that's good. I don't care if you have a 50.00001% win rate, that means you can climb. If you win more games than you lose, no matter how many more games, you will climb. And that's very important. So if you have a high win rate, that's good. But if you have a 50% win rate, don't worry about it. Just say, okay, you know, I'm about the elo where I belong, so I'm going to get better, and then I'm not going to belong here anymore. If I'm Plat 5 with a 50% win rate, that's fine. I belong in Plat 5. I'm going to get better at the game, and maybe now I'm going to belong in Plat 4. I'm going to get a little bit higher than a 50% win rate, and then I'll find where I belong, and it's going to go back to 50%. That's what's going to happen until you are a challenger, until you are at the top of the ladder or at the bottom of the ladder. You're going to have eventually a 50% win rate. And again, if you're not where you belong, it will be either above 50% or below 50%, but eventually you'll get there. And that's kind of one of the things that if you go on a really big winning streak, a really big losing streak, you need to always pay attention. If you're losing a lot, that might suck, but you know, maybe you're not in the right elo, and if you drop down, you'll get to a place where you can go even with the enemy, and that's going to be better for you. And then again, you can improve, you can climb back up. And conversely, I feel like this happens a lot more often. If you go on a big winning streak, sometimes you may be on a hot streak personally. You may just be getting really lucky with your games. But a lot of times, if you get on a really big winning streak, you're going to get put out of your league. All right. And this has happened to me many, many times. Every time I get on a big winning streak, I get very, very nervous because it makes me play against much better opponents. And then all of a sudden I can't win anymore. I'm losing lane every single game, or I'm unable to transition my leads into victories and stuff like that. So if you're winning a lot, just be aware you're going to get placed against better people eventually, and you need to watch out for that. And that's why, especially if you have a big winning streak, your MMR is going to lag behind your LP. So if you get on a big winning streak and you start like getting trash LP gains, that's fine. All right, you're probably going to sink down in LP because your MMR has to catch up. And again, if you just win more games than you lose, you'll get there eventually. Your LP might be falling, but your MMR will be growing. And that's the important thing. LP doesn't matter at all. MMR is what matters in this game. So that's kind of a very, very big, long rant for this first point of defining success through victory. Let's see, what other things that I have in my notes that I haven't covered in this section. Oh yeah, again, this is a thing that'll happen to you in life. If sometimes crap happens in life and you have no control over it, and that sucks. But if you always define your happiness by the random things that happen to you, good or bad, you're going to be in for a struggle. So, sometimes you just have to say, okay, this sucks. I feel terrible, but there's nothing I can do, and just try to take measures to get back to where you need to be. And that'll happen. And that's where things like, support groups, friends, family, stuff like that is very, very important. Most people have people around them that, this is getting very tangenty again. So let's go back to League of Legends. So you're going to win games that you should lose games that you should win. So that's another reason why you shouldn't define success or victory. And it's very important that you enjoy yourself. All right. Climbing elo is good. Winning feels good. But if you're not enjoying the game, is it worth it? It might be for you, in which case, great. It might not be for you, in which case, you need to be aware of that. Just answer that question. Is it worth it? And regardless of what your answer is, it's fine, but make sure you answer it. All right, so that was a very, very long beginning to this playing at your best section. First point, can't define success or victory. Next point. This is very common as well, but I want to stress it because it's important. If you're on a losing streak, take a break. People always say this. I don't mean a 5-minute break. I don't mean, I'm gonna go get some water or something. Oh, my mental state is completely refreshed. I'm ready to win now. No. That's not how your brain works. And different people define losing streaks in different ways. For me, it's about 2 to 3 games of losses in a row. For you, it could maybe be just 1 loss. You maybe up to 4 losses. Probably not more than 4 losses for anybody. If you're losing a bunch of games in a row, take a break. And it's really important to reset your mental state. I don't do this that frequently in the way you might think because I stream, and so I can't really just stream a game and be like, I'm not feeling this. I'm gonna leave for an hour, come back and stream again. Like, that technically could work, but it's not really conducive to an actual streaming environment. So what I do myself, and this can work for people who have multiple accounts, is just switch accounts. Play on a different account where you don't have to worry about it. Play a normal game. Everyone can do this. If you enjoy normal games, that's great. Play an ARAM, play an alternate game mode, whatever you find works for you. I mean, of course, I think probably the best thing is just get off of your computer. Move around, do something else, read a book for a little bit, go exercise, clean the house. Ooh, I cleaned the house today. It was such a fantastic feeling. Stuff like that, all right? Get off the computer, take a break, reset mentally, because you can't always recognize when you're tilting. I think I personally tilt differently than other people, but I still do it. Some people tilt very visibly, very noticeably, and they start raging, they start getting really upset. It's a little more subtle for me, but of course you can still notice, but sometimes I'm not aware of it. And I think that happens with everybody. Everyone is capable of tilting without being aware of it. So that's why you should probably have a rule for yourself that you follow no matter what. So for me, it's 2 to 3 games. I try to follow that as best I can. Sometimes streaming messes it up a little bit, but oh goodness gracious, this video is gonna take forever. But that's important. Take a break in a losing streak. The third point I want to talk about for playing at your best is, again, I think something that's not talked about often enough and is very, very important and kind of ties into a lot of other things we've talked about, is that you should never play if you're not willing to lose. Because let's face it, sometimes you get the team from hell. Sometimes you get no support. Sometimes you get placed up against 5 challenger smurfs. It's unlikely, but it happens. Some games are just unwinnable, and that's okay. That's why you shouldn't define success through victory. All right, and it's very, very important to be aware of it. When I'm queuing up for a game, I'd like to win. But if I'm thinking ahead and say, if I lose this game, I'm gonna be so upset, don't play the game. I don't care if you're already in champ select, dodge champion select. Dodging champion select, this wasn't included in my notes, but it's very important to talk about. It doesn't lower your MMR. I don't care if you've dodged champion select 5 times today. Dodge again, it doesn't matter. If your LP lowers, does not matter. LP is useless for ranked and climbing elo. MMR is what's important. You're more likely to lose MMR by your head not being in the right state, not to mention hurting yourself emotionally. If you lose a game that you're not willing to lose, is going to ruin your day potentially. Always dodge. Dodging is always worth it if you're willing. And again, that's something I don't do very often because I stream and I don't like making people wait. But if you're just playing and if your primary goal is to climb, do not be afraid of dodges. LP penalties do not matter. Okay? So even if you're on a really hot streak, even if you play your heart out, you're going to lose some games that you don't think you should lose. So always play the game with the realization that, hey, I could lose this game, and that's okay. And if it's not okay, do not play. I think that's very important. So those are the first 3 for playing at your best. Don't define success through victory. If you're on a losing streak, take a break. Never play when you're not willing to lose. We got 2 more points in here, and then we're going to wrap things up. So the 4th point is honest self-reflection is incredibly important. And again, life thing. Always be aware of yourself. You can get so far in life, so much farther in life, if you're just cognizant of what you're doing and how you're perceived. And I don't mean that in a very shallow way, but just like what's going on, accurate view of who you are. So this is very important in League of Legends, because if every fight you think, oh man, I carried that fight, wait, how did we lose? If that happens a couple times, maybe you got unlucky. If that happens every time, that's when you have to start thinking, okay? So sometimes we think we're doing a certain thing and we're not. And again, with life, a lot of times people will tell us this and we don't believe them. And again, if 1 or 2 people tells you something, you think, maybe they're crazy. Maybe they don't know what they're talking about. When everyone starts to say the same thing, either everyone's out to get you or you're probably doing it, okay? So try to be as self-aware as possible. And so there are some great tools to help with this in League of Legends. Replays, incredibly useful. I don't utilize them enough. I sometimes watch stream VODs of myself to pick up on things I can improve for streaming and things I can improve in playing. But usually you can pick up so many things from self-reflection, and especially through replays. I remember a particular instance when I was watching some of my VODs where I was like, man, I feel like I should have won all these games, but I got unlucky. No, every single game I just shoved up and got ganked. And it's like, this was such an obvious gank. Why am I not aware of it? Why am I blaming my teammates when it's something that I should have anticipated? Again, going back to map awareness and getting better at the game section. So accurate self-reflection and self-awareness is very, very important for climbing. Okay, last topic for playing at your best is about arguing with teammates. Never argue, with this caveat. I think there are some exceptions. Never argue more than what can fit in 1 line of text. Because sometimes it can be okay to say, this is what we need to do next. I disagree, this is what we need to do. And that can be okay. But when you start getting to a full-on discussion and debate, when you start having introductions, body, and conclusion, that's when you got to draw the line, okay? If it doesn't get resolved in 1 line of text, it is not worth trying to resolve. If you're arguing, you're not playing. There's nothing more to it than that. Not to mention, usually arguing is just going to make things worse. Again, sometimes it can make things better. In that case, type 1 line and be done. this person says, hey, we need to do this. And you say, no, that's terrible. You think that, don't type that in that words. You respond in chat, no, I think it would be better if we do this for this reason. And if they argue, be like, okay, I'm not going to change his mind. If it takes more than one line to change his mind, not worth it. Let's play the game. And how you eventually decide to compromise is fine. However you want to do that is okay. And this also comes into play for fixing other people's problems. Again, in life, 9 times out of 10, fixing other people's problems is a bad idea. Okay, meddling is a bad idea. But in League of Legends, you know, sometimes it can maybe work, but still, I don't think it's ever worth it. Well, let's just go safely. 9 times out of 10, it's a terrible idea. You can't solve other people's problems. So if 2 people are arguing, don't make it worse. If you think you can resolve it quickly, go for it. Give it your best shot in 1 line of text. If it doesn't resolve it, back away. You tried. It's not worth it. So that's basically it. Climbing Elo is mostly about 2 things: getting better at the game and playing at your best. And we talked about a few of those things today. If you have, well, there's one more thing I want to say. I mentioned this very briefly, and we're at about 31 minutes in the video right now. So what's another minute, okay? Is at the end of the day, League of Legends is a game. And I'm not saying that in a disparaging or maybe condescending way, but it's meant to have fun. Climbing Elo feels good. Winning feels good. But if you're not having a good time, if losses make you more upset than wins make you happy, if after you play League of Legends, you get off your computer and you feel bad, that's not good. That's not healthy. Do not play. It's not worth it. Okay? Your mental state, your mental well-being, your self-image, all this stuff is way more important than playing this game. And if there's any time when you realize, hey, League of Legends is making me unhappy, do not play the game. I don't care what you have to do to not play it, but don't play a game that you're not enjoying. There's far too many people. League of Legends is famous for having a toxic community and there's so many people that play that just aren't enjoying themselves. They're playing, they're getting angry. They're like, I should be winning. My teammates are holding me back. I'm angry. These guys are terrible. Shouldn't be playing the game. Okay? It's not your job unless you're one of the few people that it is your job. But for most people, and probably everybody watching this video, it's not your job. It's a hobby. It's something that we play for various reasons. And analyzing why you play League of Legends is really important. I like playing League of Legends because primarily I enjoy streaming. And playing League of Legends is the best way for me to stream. I also enjoy playing League of Legends because I'm very, very competitive. So I enjoy improving. I enjoy winning. I enjoy getting better at the game. But when I play, my competition at the end of the day is against myself. When I'm queuing up for a game of solo queue and I find out I'm against like XX Asian Killer 27XX, I don't think, man, I gotta beat this guy. I gotta put this guy in dumpster. Unless he was like flaming me really hard the last game, then I might think that. But it's just some random guy I'm playing against. You know, I don't care if this guy loses in general. What I want is I want to probably climb Elo. I probably want to get better at the game. It's about competing against yourself. That's really important. So analyze why you're playing the game. If at any point you're not enjoying yourself, just save yourself and other people pain. Just don't play. All right, so that's not very uplifting, but I think it's really important. Conversely, let's end this on a high note. If you enjoy the game, you know, if you're playing a game and you win and you feel so good, if you're playing a game and you lose and you go, I'm fine, I'll get them next time. Stuff like that, a positive attitude. This game can be so rewarding, but the right mindset is incredibly important. And getting that right mindset is not only gonna help you climb Elo, it's not only gonna help you win and get better at the game, it's just gonna make you a happier person in general. Mindset is so important. That's why there's all these videos online. There's all these like books about like different mental tricks to get the most out of life. It's because it's important. Your mental perception, how you approach things is what kind of creates your life experience, and that goes along with League of Legends as well. So that's how I want to close this video, is just be aware, do your best, climb, have fun, and at the end of the day, how you approach the game is up to you. All right. So thanks for watching. Feel free to let me know if you have any comments or questions. I love discussing things, especially on Discord. Discord link is open to everyone, and it's below the video. I would love to see you there. So thanks everyone for watching. And if you're a Zyra main, then may your enemies feel the thorns embrace. And if you're not a Zyra main, may you feel the thorns embrace. Thanks. Goodbye, everyone.